Well, good evening, gang, and welcome to It's All About Arts. My name is Glenn Williams, and I'm your host. And to my right and to your left, back, of course, never really far away.
No.
Back is the lovely Suzanne Schultz. Hello, Suzanne. How are you?
Good. How are
You
you?
look lovely in black.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's my signature color.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I want to remind everyone we're coming to you live from our beautiful studios here at BNN TV, and you're more than welcome to join us if you'd like. We're at 617-708-3290. And Davey and the great staff of BNN are in the other room answering the phone, so give us a call if you want to let us know what's going on in your community, artfully, or in your life, or if you just have a regular old question.
Nice.
If you just want to buzz in and let us know what's going on. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really, really good. I spent the day today at the New England Aquarium.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I was patting stingrays and
Scary.
patting sharks, and
You really touched a shark?
I did.
Wow. That's
I
scary.
did.
I wouldn't be brave enough.
And we saw them diving in the big circular tank, the big, huge tank that they have.
Yeah, I haven't been there in so long.
It was great, you know. And the kids loved it. They had a great time. And it was glad to be in there because it was nice and
Cool.
climate controlled.
Yes.
So what's new and exciting? What's going on, Suzanne? We missed you last week.
Yeah,
And the week before we were closed. It's like I haven't seen you in so
Yeah,
long.
it was. My AC was out for 12 days.
That's amazing. I
It
can't
was
imagine.
hard. It was rough.
You couldn't
'cause
pick a worse 2 days.
It was bad.
2 weeks, I mean, to have no air conditioning.
It was hot, and I work and live in the same place, so I was a little nomadic, running around.
Yeah.
But
Was it plugged in?
Yeah, right. It was broken. It was a major leak in the condenser, and it was like a comedy of errors. Like, I have these shades that haven't moved in 4 years, and then I was like adjusting the shades and closing the window and trying all these things that I completely messed the shades up. And then we brought in this floor unit and, closed everything up and tried to run this floor unit in this, apartment with high ceiling, no. So I'm sitting there sweating, and it's like, it's not working. Open the windows, move those shades again.
Stop us.
But it makes you realize how fortunate you are to have air conditioning. I mean, I grew up without it.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we grew up without it. Like, my parents had one in their room, of course, and that was it. So my sisters and I would go in there and, blow dry our hair, and then as soon as we walked out, it would go poof. It's like, why are we even bothering? So.
Well, what else? Well, I'm glad things are back to normal.
Things are back to normal. Today, again, I felt a little nomadic the last week and a half, but today it just felt good to sort of get back to work. And as you know, the WGBH auction is coming up.
Yes, it is. Very exciting. Do you have people that you have pieces that are going into that?
I do, and I've been working with them. They're doing something a little different this year. They normally just show the art at WGBH, but this year they wanted to take it out and put it out and do an art walk on Newbury Street.
Very nice. Very nice idea.
So I helped them with some venues with that. So that was really fun. So that art walk is going to be a week from Wednesday on Newbury Street. You can go to their website and see.
I might have to show up.
Yeah, I think you have to show up. There's going to be musicians.
Music too.
Our lovely Fia James is going to be playing. I'm not sure where she's going to be stationed yet. It might be at 29 Newbury, but I will let you know next Monday. And one of my painters, Alan Bunker.
How did her gig go? She had a pretty decent gig coming up where she was going to be playing, opening for somebody at either the Middle East or where was it that?
Oh, I think you're thinking of Natalie.
Am I thinking of Natalie?
You're thinking
Am I mixing my singers up?
They're both young, talented young women, amazing. Natalie's gig went incredibly well.
Good.
Fia's been doing so much. She's all over the place doing things, and she's really coming along. So I'm excited for this for her. So both women are doing, young women are doing very well.
Good. Glad to hear. Any openings, anything going on? What have you done for the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Laying in the beach?
Yeah, that's right. I should have been. I should have just said, I'm taking 2 weeks off. We just closed down our show at Alternative Art Space at 450 Harrison.
Yeah, talk about that. How'd that go with the first Friday and stuff?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I had a closing event yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, that venue is just superb. I think that's the best address in Boston for
Is the
art.
closing event much like an opening? Is the artist there, and is there like little nosh and a little glass of wine and stuff, and people kind of come and say goodbye?
Yeah, I think that when you have your art in a space, you should try to maximize the time it's there. As you know, I show art all over Boston, and I really try to encourage my artists to just not leave it there.
Yeah.
If you want to have your girlfriends come out for a tea or a coffee, or, you want to do this or you want to do that, or you want to do a talk, just don't limit it to having an opening. I mean, you can do as many events there as you want to. And I think you need to look at that space, whether it's alternative art space, which is a gallery environment, Neiman Marcus, which is obviously a department store, 29 Newbury, a restaurant, wherever that artwork is hanging, just really plan interesting events, more than one in that space. And it doesn't have to come from me. I tell the artists, bring your people in, march them through.
Yeah.
Don't just let it sit there.
Yeah, the private little showings and little teas with intimate teas are at the Schultz Gallery, right? Is that
Oh yeah, we do so much.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even turn my oven on. That would have been like killing myself. Yeah, I mean, it would be like.
Did you have to cancel any of them?
I didn't do my first Friday event.
Oh, no kidding.
I was going to do a duel like at my loft and across the street.
It's just too hot.
Yeah.
And you're not on the ground floor, you're upstairs.
And even in the winter, I need air conditioning. It's like living in a terrarium. I feel like a turtle half the time. It's like crawling around. It's like so hot, which is great in the winter, but not great in a heat wave. And, I was in the elevator and one woman said, oh, it's so hot. And I started to cry. Yeah. And then I thought, just grow up. Yeah. You'll be fine. I mean, tears.
It's July.
I'm like, I have no air conditioning. And she's like, oh, God, got to get out on this floor. But
whether it's her stop or not. Yeah.
Starts making you a little bonkers. But
well, the heat is doing that to all of us, I think. I think we're all kind of getting a little heat crazy. I mean, even in the studio, it's nice and air conditioned and stuff in our music studio, but everything's got to be shut off when you're recording. And in the course of 5 minutes, it goes from this kind of comfortable atmosphere to bloody hot.
Right.
And so it's difficult to.
And isn't that bad for the equipment if it gets?
It's bad for the equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a climate in there, but you can hear the air. Right. When you're recording.
Because I was worried about my computer and everything being in the heat. It actually was really acting slow, but it seems to have come back to life.
PCs are pretty tough things. They'll be okay. It's the servers that you got to keep under control, because those are the guys that'll break down in the heat.
Right.
Yeah. What's coming up? Anything?
Not too much. I try not to do too much in the summer because people are, otherwise engaged. I like to use the summer as a time to forecast things for the fall and winter.
Yep.
And try to sort of reflect on what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked, what can we do differently. I met with the city councilman today talking about a new program that I want to launch for the fall, which he was really excited about.
Very interesting.
With the city, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so that's going to be huge, and it's not going to be just for my artists. It's going to be open up to all Boston artists.
You're going to meet John Crowley, who is the curator for the city. He does all of the Scully Gallery stuff. He does all of the Menino Gallery stuff.
Yeah, we're going to be submitting to that gallery. We're working on a show.
He's a great guy.
City
In fact,
Colors.
he's come here to BNN to do some, to take some classes on how to. Whatever he was taking classes on, television production and stuff like that.
That's great.
He's a great guy.
Janice has been helping with that. So she came up with the title City Colors, and I said, okay, what are our city colors? So she found out they are blue and buff, if anybody's curious. Blue and buff.
Look at the seal.
Yeah. So all my artists are now working on their pieces, and we're putting something together, and we're going to submit and hopefully have a show in 2014.
Oh, that'd be fabulous.
It's a great gallery.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Janice and I have been fortunate to hang there a couple of times, and in some group shows, and it's such exposure.
Yeah.
Because it is literally the busiest building in the city.
It is.
There are people in and out of there constantly.
And again, I would encourage people who are showing there. I mean, they usually just show up for the reception and they leave it. I mean, it's such a great place with so much, cachet to be showing in the Mayor's Gallery. You know, try to get some press on it. Get one of the art writers, find out who writes for Art New England, find out who writes for ArtScope.
Right.
Get somebody interested in covering the story.
Right.
We might have a window across from City Hall. Again, the city also has a program called Boston Arts Windows, which is open to all artists, and they're trying to clean up, the downtown crossing area. So any empty storefronts they're trying to fill with art.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, so, we're going to hang some art, and we'll have the gallery information so people can find us, and it's right near City Hall.
Yeah.
Again, great exposure,
Yeah.
great part of town.
Well, downtown is one of the busiest places around.
It's actually my favorite neighborhood now,
Yeah,
Downtown
yeah.
Crossing. They've done an incredible job with it.
Well, you know who's done a great job down there is the Main Streets program.
Yes, segue.
Our good friends at Boston Main Streets have done some great stuff down in that area and in all the areas around the city. We're very, very happy about our affiliation with the Main Streets program. Boston Main Streets, as everybody knows who's watched our show, is an organization that helps revitalize business districts. Now, we all know the Downtown Crossing for a while was just they had that big hole in the ground, and there was not a lot going on, and it was a bunch of empty storefronts and stuff, and what they did was they helped revitalize that area so that it become a very viable business district. But they also do it out in the community too. In the South End has a couple of them. Dorchester has a couple of them. Roxbury has one. Jamaica Plain, Eggleston has one. Rosendale, Hyde Park. They're all over the place. And what they've done for us here is been a great supporter of the arts and a great supporter of this program. So we're very, very fortunate for our affiliation with them. I've served on the board for 18 years, and it's been a great, fulfilling opportunity for me to learn about other communities, but also to help, strengthen mine. So they're always looking, and it's a completely volunteer-driven organization. And I mean, there's an executive director who kind of makes sure the lights are shut off at the end of the day. That is not their only job. And they work with the property owners and the business owners to make sure everything's up to the best it can be. And then they run events to bring people down there, like putting artwork in storefronts. It's one of the main things that they do. So we want to make sure we always thank them for their support here at It's All About Arts, because we're very, very fortunate to have them as friends.
Absolutely.
How's that?
It's great.
One of the other things I do want to remind and tell everybody about is this building that we're in, BNN TV, Boston Neighborhood Network. We're in Studio B, which is a fabulous place, and this is the side where if you have a nonprofit or if you have an organization that you want to let the public and let people know about, not just here in Boston. We have viewers all over the country now.
All over the world.
Well, it's amazing what happens is you have a guest on who has people in another part of the world, another part of the country, and they can log on at the time of the television show, www.bnntv.org, click on what's playing now, and there you are, live. And because of that, we've gotten all kinds of people that have emailed us telling us from all over the country, all over the world, you're right, England and all kinds of Spain and
Palm Beach and South Africa.
It shocks me because, this is a local cable access television station. But when you have a message that you want to get out to people, out to the community, this is the place you come to do it. You come in and you talk about your mission statement. You come in and bring guests that are going to talk about the different things that you want to accomplish in your community. This is where you go to do that. So if you go to www.bnntv.org, click on Janice Williams' name. She is the manager of the membership. She has all the answers. And then if you have a tough question, you want to talk to someone who's been in the business for many, since cable came alive, I always steer people to Jim Atwood. Jim Atwood is the guy who is access, as far as I'm concerned, in the city. He knows everything there is to know about it. Because he's done everything there is to do in access. So give him a call. I want to thank them, too, here at BNN. We've started 16 now.
Wow. Congratulations.
Starting year 16, and well, we finished 15, so I guess that means we're working on 16, I guess is what it means.
Well, you know how many people I've run into who say not only do they watch the show, but it's their favorite show.
Well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, and I think people really relate to, hearing about art. I mean, this show is really dedicated to hearing what artists have to say, and it's very a unique program that you created 16 years ago.
Well, one of the things, one of the original messages and one of the mission was to and I don't say this, it's to humanize the artist. I mean, people go to art galleries and they go, oh, I don't really belong there, or I don't know what to say to them, you know. But we bring the artists in here and we talk to them, we find out about them. You know, we enjoy their work as well, but we also find out what their muse is, what gets them going, what their environment is, what kind of art have they been doing, have they always been a photographer? And so you get to know a little bit more about the artist who creates this amazing art.
I mean, I started a business because I met an artist in a studio, and for me, it changed the course of my life forever.
Yeah.
And I had no intention of starting a business or even getting a job, really, at that point. You know, I was raising 2 kids, I was doing this and that. It wasn't my intent, but that experience was so powerful for me. I had been to galleries and I'd seen art and I'd loved art, but I never actually interacted with an artist. And meeting in his studio countless times, bringing different people in because I was so blown away by his talent and this stockpiling of paintings and his inability to really show the art. You know, again, it changed the course of my life, and I started a business. And I think when somebody allows an artist to come into their life, it may not spawn a business or change the direction of where they're going, but it can definitely change the way they look at the world.
Oh, no question about it.
So
Oh,
it's exciting
that's
stuff.
absolutely. I mean, there's no artists in here right now, right? Because most of them don't know how to promote themselves. And I can't tell you how many artists I've met through the years who do this amazing painting and then put it over there and start up another one and then put it over there.
I find that to be very irresponsible. I'm like, that has to go outside now.
People need to see that, and they need to see it right now.
It needs to go. Yes, it has to get out. So.
Okay, well, that's great.
Yes.
I hope that everything is cool at your house.
It's so wonderful. It's a little chilly, actually.
Well, thanks an awful lot for being here, Suzanne. And I know that you're running out the door, and I thank you for being here. And obviously, I mean, we've had a great run together, and we're going to keep on at this as long as they don't lock the doors on us and shut the lights up. Keep on. So listen, gang, you are watching BNN TV's It's All About Arts. My name is Glenn Williams, and this, of course, is the lovely Suzanne Schultz from Canvas Fine Arts and It's All About Arts. We're going to take a break right now. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with our first guest. We're very, very pleased and honored to have 2 fabulous artists in the studio with us tonight. So listen, gang, hang in there. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. We're going to watch a video, and then we'll be back with Jeff Roberts is going to be the first up to join us. I know I told him in the booth it was going to be Wilson Hunt, but they've changed it on me. I have no control over this at all. So listen, gang, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Please do not go away. Thank you.
See you standing over there, just the other afternoon, hidden by shadows, waiting for a man, hidden from the sun. For a man that never comes, like a race that's never run. As the road widens, and it almost always will, you look upon this day. The outlook will broaden as you find it was in you. answers never heard, feeling so absurd, empty, lost, confused, and blue. Phone calls not returned, lost and so concerned. How to cope? Old friends will pull you like a race that's never run, like a bell that's never rung, like a song that's never sung.
Well, thank you for hanging in there, gang, and thank you for being here with us. My name is Glenn Williams. You're watching BNN TV's It's All About Arts. And there is one other thing that I do want to remind everybody. I'd often gotten all these requests to see past shows. And one of the things that we've developed now in the It's All About Arts world is a YouTube site where tomorrow this show will be up on YouTube, and all of our past shows of the past year are starting to be loaded up onto that site. So if there's ever a show that you want to go back and get some more information on, or just watch because the artwork was so fascinating, it is It's All About Arts 1. So if you put that in the search engine on YouTube, it brings you right to our It's All About Arts station there, and we're loading past shows up. There's a couple of shows that are up there now with, I have hair all the way down to the back of my, what was I thinking? I don't know. But so that's where you go. It's All About Arts 1, and that'll get you right to our YouTube station. And right now, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce you to Mr. Jeff Roberts. Hello, Jeff.
How are you, sir? Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming in. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. I'm going to ask my standard first question, and you'll know what it is if you've seen any of my shows in the past. I like to give our guests an opportunity to kind of identify themselves, kind of put a label on, on what they do. Some of us are photographers, some of us are, are painters, but I don't let you get away with just calling yourself a painter. Okay. Is there, if you had to pull a genre down, I'll give you two. If you had to pull down two genres and say this is kind of what I do, what would you say, Jeff? What do you kind of put?
Well, the easy way out is mixed media, collage, assemblage, box construction.
No, that's fine, and I think that does describe, and that's a good description of what you're doing. It's all fine art as far as I'm concerned. So I wouldn't let you get away with fine art either, because I think it all is, because it's so enjoyable. We're going to get a chance to see a bunch of your stuff in a little bit, and please forgive me for calling it stuff. But
I think we all do, don't we?
I know, but every time I say it, I go, ugh.
I was at a show, a 2-day show up in North Conway this weekend, and was visited by a precocious 8 or 9-year-old girl who said, "My mommy says I have to go right now, but I love your stuff."
Perfect. Okay, that's excellent. I'll take that.
It was worth the trip to hear you say that.
That's great. Assemblage and well, what's box art? Let's go start there.
Well, box art, the America's leading proponent of box art was Joseph Cornell. So he would take, in the early days, found boxes like a cigar box, and he would build a little dream world inside that box, mostly of objects he had found in his travels around Manhattan. It all meant something to him or had some connection to pop culture. He was a big fan of ballet and musicians and movie stars of the time, and he would take little bits and pieces of ephemera that he had found in secondhand stores around Manhattan, and he would build a little world in a box. And sometimes they were glass fronted, and sometimes they were just open lids, and sometimes there were photographs or Xerox or copies of photographs of people like Lauren Bacall or Hedy Lamarr, people that he was fond of, and he would build a little world around that image. And with clay pipes and little shot glasses and balls and
From
wire
that
ri-
bar?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something that means something, you know,
Yeah.
something that puts meaning into the piece of work. And so you've decided, so you went in that kind of a direction? Originally, is this been kind of like what you've done? Or?
Well, I was a writer originally, and still am actually, and have worked many years writing poetry, and got some modest amount of success in that world, and then decided when I discovered Joseph Cornell that I really wanted to try to experience the same sort of head smacking or Pete Townsend windmill sensation I get when I finish a good poem that I think is done. I wanted to try to see if I could get that same thing with visual art.
That's great.
So I just started experimenting with things, and then realized that some of the stuff I was making was stuff that I liked as much or better than things that I saw out in the art world. So I just continued to try to get this sort of dopamine shots from completing something great and looking at it and going, wow, I did that myself.
I know exactly what you're saying. That whole self-accomplishment thing that we try to pass on to our younger citizens is such a big deal. You know, and because what it does is it fosters more creativity.
Well, it does. One of the things that you get that jolt, and what you want, then you want to go back and do it again. And in order to get the next one, you've got to be a little bit better than the last one.
Oh, so the last one you've done must be outstanding.
I think so.
Of course it is. You know, it's interesting that you say that you were a poet, and are you telling stories now with your? I'm trying to think of what the name is. It's not a picturama. It's a
Diorama is,
Diorama.
that's what they used to call this sort of 3D, you know, you insert some sort of scene into a wall and give it some depth and put a glass front on it. Those were dioramas, and early museums had a lot of.
But you're doing more collagey, aren't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm taking some sort of. Sometimes it's a found object. Sometimes it's a small pine box with a hinge on it, where the lid comes up and down. And using paint and found objects, I'm doing sort of the same thing. Or on a flat plane, I can take a painting or create a painting and then in some cases I then photograph a painting that I've done on the tabletop, manipulate the color somehow, print that up, and then I overpaint the print, and then add some 3D collage objects on top of the print. So I could do what I call a digital monotype. I could have a whole series where the background is pretty much the same, because I just make 10 copies of the picture, but then I make 10 completely different finished products by putting different overpainting and different collage objects on top of it.
Well, that's pretty fascinating.
So instead of doing a sort of a lithograph process, I'm doing it as a digital process, so that I can have a theme or a series of things.
It is a series, though?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Let me ask you this. Is it a journey for you? Do you know what you're doing when you start?
Yes and no. Sometimes the process is the challenge of getting something out of here into a finished product. Sometimes I'm walking by a table and I see this glass and those glasses, and I say, if I turned this way and made this green, I'd have something. And then you start, and then I just start iteratively moving stuff around and adding colors and adding shapes. And
so it's not always Lauren Bacall, I'm going to do something on that vein. And sometimes it is a journey, and it's a path you have to take.
Yep. And like poetry, oftentimes you in the middle of something you think is going great, you realize it's not working, you have to scrap it because it just won't go, and you found something in the middle of it that might be different. You take off on another tangent. And,
do you scrap it, or do you put it aside?
Well, I usually, when I'm convinced that it really wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, I try to get rid of it, get the energy out of the room.
Do you have a dedicated space to work in?
Pretty much. I have an office that doubles as a place to set up the computer and put the shelves in and the books, and a couple of roll-around carts, and then I have a garage that's attached to that. So,
because I'm envisioning this space where there's all these little things to pull from.
There is.
And collections over the years.
I've got from years ago when I was in the record business, I had some really nice sturdy 3/4-inch plywood, 12-inch divided shelves built, and I have those in the garage, and I have sort of. Here's all where the wooden pieces are, and here's where the old buttons are, and here's where the glass jars are, and that sort of stuff. And I just things that I painted over many times and didn't use. I just, when I'm looking for something and I can't think of what it is, open stuff up and look at it, and something will click and go, oh, there's something I was looking for.
That's good. That's great.
And build that, and then make sure, just so everyone knows, if you now use spray paint often, make sure your wife's car is not parked in the garage when you're working with the spray paint, because you'll embarrass yourself when you find out the windshield wipers don't work as well as they used to, and she takes it to the shop, and the shop says, "You've been
What's all
spraying
this
something
lacquer on it?" And she knows right where to go, doesn't she?
She said, "I don't know what you're talking about." And then she said, "Oh, wait a minute."
That's fascinating. The record business, that's interesting. Were you, are you the Jeff from EMI or?
No, but you've been around in the town long enough. I had used record stores in the heyday of the underground record stores in New Haven and in Boston. We had a store in Harvard Square called Festoons Records.
Festoons, really?
On the corner of Mass Ave and Bow and Arrow Streets there was my place. And then in the mid-'80s, I was the manager of the first compact disc store in town called Boston Compact Disc, BCD.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
had one on JFK Street and another one down on Newbury Street.
You've heard all. You've heard it all.
So, I used to hang around in the early days with, down in Kenmore when Nuggets was first there. And,
yeah.
Those are all old buddies of mine.
Oh, that's
all the
great.
record store
I
owners.
remember the Kenmore clubs and all that, and Cantones and the Rat, of course, and all those places. I go back to that and stuff, so those days.
Yeah, I loved it.
Maybe one day we'll get together and talk about that era of our lives. That'll be fun. Let's take a look at some of your work, Jeff.
Yeah, great.
I think it'd be a great idea. It's going to show up on the screen over here. You can walk us through what we're looking at.
Right. So this is a series of opportunistic art. I went to an online ceramic tile company, and they were closing out. I don't like to spend a lot of money on my raw materials, so they were closing out what they called do-it-yourself desktop pencil holders made out of black cherry. So these were all designed to have a 4x4-inch ceramic tile put in the middle of that square.
Yeah.
And they were getting rid of them, so they were cheap. I bought them all. So I now have, I'm about halfway through about 19 of them, I think I bought. And I've got about 8 or 9 of them done where I've done my own paintings or photographs in where the tile is supposed to go, and then I've tried to do something with the holes on the top where the pencils were supposed to go.
It frames up the work really well. How big are they?
They're about 4 by 4 inches. They're
Good.
like that.
Okay, yeah.
Like that. So each
Beautiful.
one's a little bit different, and then I'm using these plastic bead jars to fill in the holes on top, so I can put stuff in them, and they rattle around. You can turn them upside down. The kids
kinda
like
cool.
The kids like them. This is a piece that actually someone was nice enough to come and buy from me at one point, but this was called Fledgling, and this is when we were talking about box art. This is a simple. I think this was a humidor that I got from one of those buy 10 cigars and get a free humidor.
Yeah.
So I painted that and then put some objects inside. Those are actually on the top half. Those are vintage poker chips that I've painted and then attached to the top of the box. And I forget what's in the bottom there. I think it's an old one of those big 4-inch candle holders turned upside down.
Yeah.
So so this is the.
You see cigars and poker chips.
Yeah, and this is the orange and blue mother, and then you see the fledgling there. The firstborn is hatching up in the top and about
That's really
about
clever.
to fly the nest.
That's very cool.
And this is one of the ones we were talking about. This is actually a painting that started to take shape on the top of the table that I was just using to paint other things on. And I had a piece of small wood that got stuck in the paint there, and I took a picture of that painting and then duplicated it, flipped it over, put the pieces together, manipulated the color a little, and then printed that, and then affixed that to some mat board, and then added a couple more layers to it and put a frame on it.
That's great. Are you using Photoshop?
I use it, but I use the whatever the element or the small version of it is, Elements or something like that.
Yeah.
Just enough to do contrast and color temperature a little bit and that sort of stuff. And this is one that's this is sort of the leader of there's a show opening on July 18th at UForge Gallery in Center Street in Jamaica Plain.
Great.
This is the front of the exhibition catalog for that. This is another one of my surface paintings.
How big is this piece?
This is 8 by 10.
Yeah, that's
and it's,
great.
and the background is a picture of the painting, and then the elements that actually pop out there, the red circle and the green half moon and the
Yep.
other pieces, those are collaged. They're a little bit of depth to them, so there's pieces of paper cut out and then painted and built up with some urethane. And this was one that I included in here because Suzanne liked it. This was, what do they call it now? I've appropriated this picture. Under the current copyright laws, you can appropriate pictures if you use it for a one-time purpose and you substantially alter the the purpose of the original picture.
I know about copyrights.
So I discovered this website called F Yeah Backs of Heads, which is some guy's obsession of just photographs of anonymous packs of heads. And I appropriated it momentarily. You put a couple of small red pinheads in the back and then added some extra photographic elements across the bottom.
That's great.
Just to spice it up a little bit.
That's fabulous.
So when in real life, it's got those two little red pins are sticking out of or physical pins that are sticking out of it as collage pieces.
Really?
So it gives
Also, it's
it depth.
dimensional.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. When you're working, do you work on one piece at a time and kind of dedicate yourself to that, or while you're working, or are you working on several pieces going on and kind of setting up an atmosphere for yourself so that you can flow?
Well, I don't think I've ever run into another writer or another artist that wasn't in some form or another ADD. So it's hard sometimes not to get another idea while you're working on one thing, and then at least do enough. It's like writing stuff down if you get up in the middle of the night so you won't forget it in the morning. At least I have to stop and at least do enough of something to get to something that'll inform my memory of it later. So if
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something and the idea comes up, I at least will put a couple of objects together or colors or something or scribble something, and or sometimes if it's you know an even greater idea than what I was actually working on, you put this one aside and go work on the new one for a while because you get the energy, you don't want to lose it.
While you're working on Peter, do you ever all of a sudden look over at Paul and say, I'm going to take this out of here and put it belongs here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't it? I can see it. Yeah, that must be great.
Yeah, because sometimes you realize that, that's where it goes. It shouldn't be in that piece to belong. You're silly to leave it there. So,
And it would look out of place if I left it there.
yeah.
Jeff, what is the date for you, Forge?
July 18th.
the reception?
Thursday night is opening night. The reception is August 1st, which is another Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. on August 1st.
That's awesome.
But I'll be there for both. I want to be there for opening night because I haven't actually, I let the guys at U-Forge, who you probably know,
Yep.
hang it.
Good guys.
I trust them.
Yeah,
So,
good guys.
so I'm going to find out myself Thursday what they did. And there's 18 of those surface paintings and then 2 small
That's great.
3D objects in the show.
That's great. I want to thank you for coming in, Jeff.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I really do appreciate
My pleasure.
it.
Love to share.
You know, I love you sharing, and you're welcome back anytime. It'd be great to have you back.
Oh, great.
Okay?
Great.
Hey,
Thanks,
listen,
Glenn.
gang, you're watching it, BNN TV's It's All About Arts. My name is Glenn, and we will be back in just a second. Don't go away. We've got another great guest coming up. Please stand by. Thank you.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Different view, dream come true. Bolts of lightning from above.
Thanks for hanging in there, gang. That was something from the Low Budget Library in the archives, something that Tim Casey did, many years ago in a band called Casey Williams, I believe. I just want to make sure that I remind everybody about that YouTube page. You can go to YouTube tomorrow night and see the segments of this program at YouTube. It's All About Arts 1. Get you right to that YouTube page. And right now, it's my great pleasure and thrilled to introduce you to Wilson Hunt Jr.
Nice to see you again.
It's great to see you too. Thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
You're really welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, you are an artist from my town, out in Rosendale, and you're quite an accomplished artist. Tell us a little bit about what kind of art that you do, Wilson.
Well, I see myself as an abstract painter. I also do photography, but I guess we're talking mostly about the painting today.
Okay.
I'm not quite abstract expressionist. I'm not like de Kooning or what's his name, the guy who pours paint, Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
But I lean in that direction. I usually work pretty quickly, and there's a lot of sort of intuitive stuff happening, and I kind of get in a flow, and I continue working through the painting until I kind of realize, if I do any more, I'm going to mess it up.
Yeah, I was going to say, when do you know you're done?
You sometimes don't,
Yeah,
and you
right.
do too much.
Yeah. What medium are you working in?
I use acrylic gouache, and I paint flat on a table, and I use something called Yupo, which is plastic. But you can even wet it and work wet on wet.
Oh, that's interesting. So your canvas is plastic?
Not canvas, just it's
But what you're
it's like
painting-
paper, yeah.
What you're painting on
It's plastic,
is
yeah.
plastic.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff.
Is it?
Yeah, good stuff.
It's new to me.
It was new to me just a while ago too.
Not to anyone else. Now you all know about it. What's it like working with that? Does the paint move in a certain way for you? Or?
Well, I'm used to working wet on wet, so that I get a kind of watercolor feel to
Yeah.
things. But the Yupo, it works the same way. It spreads out a little bit, things move a little bit, and you get sort of accidental things happening. And I like to think of myself as a bit of the ringmaster of the accidental.
That's great description. That's an excellent description of an abstract painter. Do you start with your colors knowing what mood your painting's going to be in?
Well, not so much the mood, but the palette. I pick the colors ahead of time. I put them on the paper palette, and sometimes as I get into the painting, I might add a color that I think it needs. But mostly, when I choose, I work with maybe 6 or 7 colors, and those are the colors.
Well, the joy of acrylic paint is that those happy accidents you talk about are oftentimes the melding of 2 separate colors together, making this all of a sudden extraordinarily new color.
Well, the other thing I do is I sometimes put 2 colors on the brush at the same time.
I've seen that.
So you get sort of a streaky effect of multiple colors.
Yeah.
And anyway, it sometimes works.
Now, you say you work fast.
Yeah.
Well, give me I wake up in the middle of the night and I go down and I do something. And go back to bed and I don't realize it until the next morning. I'm not walking in my sleep painting, but I work that quick. Are you working quickly like that fast?
Well, I can maybe finish a small thing in an hour.
Yeah,
just
that's
working
what I mean.
steadily.
Yeah.
A lot of people step back, they look at it, they think about it, they ponder, and I just go from the moment I start kind of till the moment I finish. I may slow down a little bit toward the end because I'm thinking about, is it quite done? But mostly it's pretty fast.
That's great. Do you use any other materials besides the paint?
Well,
Sand or anything
no,
like that?
no,
Any of
no,
those kinds
no
of
other
dimensional things?
Mixed media. I do scrape away sometimes
You
as well
do.
as apply paint. And I found that really gives tremendous depth to things because let's say in a really dark shape, you have where you've scraped off and a really bright white shape where you get back to the paper. And it makes a big depth.
Now, are you using palette knives and stuff? Or are you
Yeah, palette. Well,
pulling a fork out of the silverware drawer?
I also use a thing that tilers use to make little kind of square lines.
Oh, yeah.
Multiple lines, sort of, you know.
I know the
pattern.
thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like puts the plaster down before.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I'm imagining you don't work on several pieces at a time.
I don't. I'm kind of a one painting at a time guy.
Yeah. Now, where can people go to see your stuff? There I go
Well,
again.
right now, I'm in a show at the Danforth Museum called Off the Wall, and I had tried 4 years running to get into that show, but my new work finally got in.
Congratulations! That's fantastic.
I'm thrilled. It's a great show.
Danforth is a great place.
They
not
have
easy
a
to get in there.
tough juror.
Oh boy, is it ever! It's not tough. It's very tough to get in there. You should be proud of yourself. That's great.
Well, thanks.
Do you have some of the pieces that are in there we're going to see?
I don't. Yes, one of the pieces that's in
Excellent.
there is one of the ones.
Well,
that
why
I
don't we
picked.
bring up some of Wilson's work, and we'll take a look at it over here. You can walk us through a little bit of what we're looking at.
This is the first one. It's called Red Tornado. And red because of the red shape right in the middle, it sort of stands out. And tornado because things look like they're being blown around in the wind.
They do.
They're like swirling around that red figure.
Now, are these the pieces that are on the plastic?
That's on plastic.
Now, how big is it?
It's about 20 by 26. The paper is, in the big sheets, the paper is 40 by 26, and so this is half size.
Okay.
This is a painting called Oh, What a Day, and it was in a show at Cambridge Art Association called the National Prize Show. And it reminds me, again, my work is very active, very busy.
No, so far.
And in this painting, it reminded me of tremendous activity, tremendous energy, and the Oh, What a Day was kind of a title of, if this is something you saw or experienced, oh, what a day it was.
I love the earthy colors. I mean, I think it really gives this, I feel meadow, I feel movement, wind, and it's very good.
Wind and water.
Yes.
I mean, I am somewhat enamored of nature, and I try to find organic and natural things in my paintings, and so I feel a lot of my work has an organic feel to it.
Way cool. Okay.
This is the painting that is in the Off the Wall show at the Danforth Museum.
That's fabulous. Look at the look at the one-stroke movement there. That's beautiful.
Sometimes it just works out so well. You know, you really get in a flow and you do things.
I'm picturing. Is this one of the ones where the brush, you put two colors on the brush and kind of just went with it? And
some of it is, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful. It's a beautiful piece. How big is that? Oh, look at this one.
Well, that one, they're both of these are about, the last one and this one are about, maybe 12 by 26. This is called Vernal, and I like the greens in it. And the pink reminded me of sort of the beginning of spring, and that's how it got the title. And when I cut down the big sheets, sometimes I have little remnants left, and I had a bunch of these smaller remnants, and I thought maybe I'd try painting on one for once.
Sure.
And the paintings really turned out really well. I was so pleased, and so I continued. I've done a bunch of them this size.
Nice size. Okay.
They're sort of panoramic. This is called Tumultuous Landscape.
Okay. I see it.
And it might be a seascape. It looks like water, really. It looks like a tsunami almost.
Well, actually, I am actually feeling like I'm standing up on a cliff someplace looking down on the ocean and the rock up in the top. I mean, that's really, really descriptive. That's great.
Well, thanks. Again, when I start, I have no idea where it's going to go.
Yeah, that's...
and as it appears on the canvas or the Yupo, I begin to sort of feel, well, what can I do to enhance this? What can I do to make it a little better?
Right.
How do I finish it off to make this a full painting?
Excellent. You know, in the couple of minutes we have left, I want to talk a little bit about how long you've been doing this and kind of what inspired you to become an artist. And
Well, when I was in college, my roommate was headed toward an art history course, and I tagged along with him. And they turned out the lights, and they started showing the great works of Western art. And I said, "This is wonderful. This is better than going to the movies."
it's like the hook came out, right?
The hook came out, and it got me. And
That's great.
so I audited the whole course. I learned all of that stuff. I was so intrigued by it. And then I took a fine arts course on 20th century painting, and I loved that too. And then I took a studio course, and it was difficult at the beginning. I felt I had a kinship with things visual, but I hadn't had a lot of practice. And they say you get pretty good after you've done about 10,000 hours of something.
Well, you should be okay.
I don't know if I've done that much, but I'm getting better, I think. I think
Wilson,
my work is getting better.
your work is really fascinating. Congratulations on the museum piece. That's really a kick in the bucket. That's dynamite stuff to be able to, especially after trying so many times to get into that room.
It's very gratifying when you finally do.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be. I mean, you've been working a while at this, and it shows. And I want you to come back.
Oh, well, thank you.
You
Yeah,
know,
I'd love to.
I'd love to put
I'd
you
love
in.
to talk about photography.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's so many things that you're doing. You're a great guest, and I'm glad we ran into each other over the strawberries. We ran into each other at the farmers market down in Rosendale Square this past weekend. I said, "Why aren't you?" And here you are. So.
Well, thank you so much
No,
for the
we're-
offer. It's been a great opportunity.
Thank you, and we're going to do it again. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, gang, that's it. That was the show. And listen, gang, I want to thank everybody for being here with us. Davey and the gang, thank you very much. These fabulous interns on these cameras, everybody that's doing such great work here. Hillary, thank you for all that you do. I want to tell everyone to get out there and do something artful for yourself this week. Please get out there. Head down to that farmers market in Rosendale Square. Live music, artists all over the place. Visit us at YouTube at It's All About Arts 1. At YouTube and check out some of our past shows. And like I like to say every week, please keep in the forefront of your minds our mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, aunts and uncles on foreign soil, please. Let's bring them all home really, really soon, okay? Listen, gang, we'll dig you later, okay? Have a nice week. Bye-bye now.